Hey there, hunting fans. You ever been out and you just had that shot, that perfect shot, all lined up and you're breathing just right? You know you got it. Boom! You pull the trigger and the animal just disappears. Everything goes silent. And you're like, wait a minute. Did that even just happen? Well, I got a great story for you today, folks. This one's submitted by Nathan Adrian, my hunting partner and good friend from the West Kootenays there, where he hunts elk and moose and deer, both whitetail and muley. And let me see, mountain goat. Heck, he hunts everything there except mountain sheep is about the only thing they don't have there. This guy lives in the outdoors. He works in the outdoors. He's out there all the time. So what a great guy to get some stories from. So let's tell you this one from him here today. I was born into a hunting family, and from my earliest memories, I can remember that all I wanted to do was hunt. At 13, I completed my CORE program, which is the Conservation and Outdoor Recreation Education Program. That's quite the acronym from our Canadian government. Anyways, what that is that's the paper that says you can now buy your hunting license and start hunting. Okay. And at 14, I saved every penny from my summer job and bought my very own rifle. Wow. For the next several years, that little Winchester 94 and I were absolutely inseparable. I loved to hunt, and hunt I did. Unfortunately for me, I could not hit the broadside of a barn. I remember well the day my hunting career changed. I was hunting a beautiful piece of public land when I ran into a local man who was going through a tough time and needed to sell a rifle. He owned 2 rifles, and since one was a gift from his father-in-law, it was his favorite rifle that he was selling. Unfortunately, that rifle was a 30-06, and I hated odd sixes with a passion. I'm not sure why, but I walked over to his house to take a look anyways. Well, let me tell you, it was love at first sight. The rifle was an 03 Springfield with a 22-inch barrel and a glass-bedded custom stock, complete with rosewood grip caps and 4-end tip. Oh man, I was smitten. 2 weeks later, I took my first mule deer. At last, I had success. All right, here's the story. September 10th, 1989 dawned crisp and cold. The night sky was clear as mountain water, and the stars shone bright. This was going to be a great hunt. The Allison brothers from Grand Forks were joining us for a week of hunting, and I had laid careful plans for opening morning. My brother Wade and one of the Allison brothers left our yard walking through the swamps and meadows, while the other Allison brother, my brothers, Darrell, Ken, and myself, drove a couple of miles to where we would begin our part of the hunt. Well, the whole plan depended on other hunters crossing the river, pushing the elk to us, and it worked perfectly. As daylight increased to the point of being able to shoot, shots rang out across the river, putting everything in motion. Now, unfortunately, we were still about 300 yards from where we needed to be when the elk crossed the river. Well, they did. They bolted across the sandbar and into the timber without us even getting a look at them. All our planning had gotten us was some track soup. So, taking up the tracks, we trailed the elk to a logged area where we eventually lost the trail, and so we split up, each of us taking a skid trip in hopes that we would either find elk or chase them to Wade and his hunting partner. I got to the far left of the logged area, and after just after about a couple hundred yards, I spotted movement off to my right. Well, thinking it was one of the other hunters, I looked back down for a moment looking for tracks, and when I looked up again, there were 2 spiked elk about 20 yards, and now we're running. Well, the elk running straight away, I knew I didn't have much of a chance, but I sprinted forward to about 30 yards, up on a hill about 4 feet high. At this point, the elk were now about 100 yards away, and had just crossed an old river channel. In a second or two, they crossed the narrow strip of land, which was a nice opening for shooting, and got over to the next river channel. But this channel was about 4 times wider and much deeper. By this time, I had my rifle to my shoulder and was hoping for a chance at a shot. And then it came. Seeing the much larger water crossing, the 2 elk wheeled around a large cottonwood tree and ran for the timber. This was my chance. Leading the front bull, I squeezed off around, but the elk never faltered. at 120 yards. Surely a 180 grain bullet from an odd 6 would make him stumble. Had I missed? Half a mile away, my brother Wade looked at his hunting partner and said, "Nathan just shot an elk." "I'd know that boom anywhere," he said. Dejectedly, I sat on a stump feeling sorry for myself and beating myself up a little bit. This went from the best opening morning to the worst with a missed shot, and with all my brothers and friends there to observe it. Well, after a few minutes, my brother Ken showed up, and after listening to my woeful tale, he asked if I had checked for blood yet, and since I hadn't, he told me I'd better get at it. Sending Ken off in the direction of the retreating elk, I picked my way across a beaver dam, found the elk tracks, and followed them around that cottonwood tree. Carefully studying the trail, my fears were confirmed. No blood, no hair, and no elk. Following the line of tracks, I looked toward the timber, and there, 30 yards away, lay my elk. Believe it or not, my shot had passed in the front of his near leg and exited behind his off leg, breaking one rib and putting a neat hole right through the heart. I was an elk hunter, and everyone within 2 miles knew it, because I was hooting and hollering to beat the band. Well, the other hunters joined me. Wade gutted the elk, Darrell rumbled his truck almost to the water's edge, and then we dragged the elk through the water to the edge, and the other hunters crossed on that beaver dam. Then I pulled that bull into the freezing water, dragged him across, and we loaded him into the truck. I vividly remember the long tendrils of ice jutting out from the shore on that frosty September morning. But I didn't care. I didn't even feel the cold. I was an elk hunter. Thank you, Nathan, for that story. Did I ever enjoy that? You know, it brings back a lot of memories for myself when I've had those chances to be hunting with family, with your brothers, with your friends that had come up. I know it's a big deal and you've made plans for the day. And wow, it was just really neat to hear how that worked out for you, with all of them there to witness that. Right on, Nathan. Way to go, and thanks for sending that story in. Folks, I know you've got some great hunting stories as well. Times that tell about special times shared with your dad, your son, your uncle, your nephew, your friend. Send them in to me. Let me tell them to the world. Heck, we're starting a community here. Let's get these stories out before it's too late. Times are a-changing, and some of us old guys, well, we won't be around forever. So send in your stories to info@themoosewhisperer.com. Like I said, let me tell them to the world. Thanks for watching, folks, and hey, more stories to come.